Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Mike Prince Show, coming to you each and every day. Of course, we like to cover the world of HBCU and beyond. And we also like to give you some insights and some information that'll make you a better fan, a wiser fan, which you can enjoy the game from the inside out. Today is going to be no exception to the rule. We are fortunate to have on the opposite end of this phone line right now none other than Mr. Harold Mitchell. And I'm going to stick my neck out there and still say head official for the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Is that safe to still assume, sir?
Yes, it is.
All right. How you doing? And welcome to the show.
I'm doing fine. And how are you today?
Well, you know what? We're doing good. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and so we're going to count our blessings while we can and keep things rolling.
Fantastic.
Yes, sir. Now, each year we try to bring you to keep us educated and find out what's new in the world of college football. And so we'll just go right into this thing and let you bring us all up to speed on what's going on.
Well, every other year, at odd number years, there are few changes in the rules except for safety issues. Even number years, which this year being 2018, as an even number of years, the major rule changes do occur, and there are quite a few that are kind of pertinent to your viewers and to folks that are fans of the game. The first rule change is all the pants that the players wear must be with knee pads and are required to cover the knee. In years past, they were required to have knee pads, but there was no rule about them covering the knee. Subsequently, I'm sure your many fans saw players with their pants where the knee pad was sometimes up to the thigh, and in some cases, players had pants that looked like biker shorts. So the NCAA has said 2018 they will be covered. Now, the significant part of this is in the event that their knees are not covered, they will be sent out of the game and cannot return until they've corrected this. The problem will be our student athletes like these pants with their knees up. Subsequently, they're going to probably try to have pants that they can pull down before the play starts, but once they start running, they'll come up. Well, that's not going to be acceptable. So there could be situations where your star players are put out of the game until they correct their equipment problem, and it could impact the final outcome of the game.
Wow. So it's always a way to try to circumvent the rules, right?
Yes, it is. And you know, the young student athletes will push it to the limit.
I guess that's part of it. And I won't say if you're not cheating, you're not trying, but if you're not trying, you're just not trying, right?
Yeah, well, the problem is if the players try to skirt the rule, we're going to be forced to enforce it. And we don't want to be involved in situations like that, but as it is, we must do it and we will do our job. Another rule change is the 40-second clock will now start after a touchdown is made. You've seen many cases where after a touchdown, sidelines start celebrating. There's a lot of delay. Coaches are talking to the players. Well, the NCAA, in attempting to speed up the time of the game, is now going to start the clock as soon as the touchdown is made, and they will have 40 seconds to put the ball in play. The same thing will happen after a kickoff, after a free kick. In other words, they're kicking off to the team after a touchdown and after a play. Once that ball is placed, they have 40 seconds to go. You've noticed in the past that some teams will just stay on the sideline and will huddle, and then they'll come out at their leisure. By that time, the defense is trying to match up, so the NCAA is trying to hurry up the time of the game, so the 40-second clock will also go at that time. That shouldn't be that much of a problem. I'm sure some of the coaches will adjust to it, but that's a rule that they put in because the times of the games are starting to creep up.
Okay. Well, I know they tried to adjust that last year too with some of these halftime rules and fractions, in particular toward the bands. How much time do you think, and I'm pretty sure they've done some research and study, how much time do you think it's going to actually save by implementing these 40-second clock rules?
You're talking about somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes. Now, if you put it in the big picture, and you got to understand, TV's behind this. In other words, TV had way too many games that were running into each other. Major games, major college, the Power 5 conferences games were lasting 3 hours and 20 minutes, 3 hours and 30 minutes. Our games in the SWAC were averaging about 3 hours and 16 minutes, and you're talking about with some form of TV involved. So if they can save 5 or 6 minutes here, 5 or 6 minutes there, that's what they like to do. The advent of overtime, and if you're thinking about overtime games, then you're talking about that 1 o'clock major college game going until 4 and 4:15 and running into that 4 o'clock game. So this is how basically the NCAA and TV is saying, how can we decrease the time of these games without taking away plays? And this is the first alternative. In the future, you're going to find all kind of different rules to try to adjust to this.
Okay.
Another rule change is on a kickoff. If the kickoff is fair caught, in other words, it's caught in the air inside the 25-yard line with the receiver giving a fair catch signal, they can get the ball brought to the 25-yard line. This, they hope, will also impact injuries, because most of your severe injuries occur on what we call huge impact plays, like kickoffs, where there's momentum on both the offense and defense running into each other. So they're saying that if you catch the ball at the 7 or 8 yard line with a valid fair catch, you can bring it out to the 25-yard line. If you do not catch it cleanly, in other words, you muff it or fumble it, then you will get the ball where you muffed it or fumbled it. You won't be able to pick it up and bring it out on your own. So it's a kind of risk-reward type of situation.
I'm understanding that, but when you have guys that are coughing kicks, where you're angling for the sideline, if the guy can actually catch it inbounds with a fair catch, then it doesn't reward that coughing kick attempt, does it?
Right, and you have noticed that, particularly in the Power 5 conferences, these kickers have gotten so good that they can kick it high and to spots. So you've got a lot of kicks that are being kicked, to the 5 or 10 yard line near the sideline, and they're trying to keep those plays from becoming action plays to which there are injuries on these blocks at that time. So this is more of a safety rule than anything else.
Okay, and I understand that, but it also kind of changes your strategic approach if you're a coach and you're trying to play that position game, pin the guy down deep inside the 10-yard line on a corner coughing kick. But if he happens to get it and fair catch it and catch it cleanly, then that negates your strategy.
That's very much true. Now, as a member of the SWAC and the MEAC, the question is, how many kickers can kick the ball that far anyway? In other words, what is the average field position of a kickoff in the MEAC or the SWAC? And you'll probably find that is much further than the 25-yard line. So unless you've got a good kicker that can not only boom it but also can kick it high, this may not affect our conference.
Okay, I'll agree to disagree with that one, because I've seen games where on the kickoff return or a punt, guys might end up around the 16, 17-yard line. Now all I got to do is fair catch the ball at the 5-yard line, and I'm automatically going to get to the 25.
I agree with you, but it's got to be caught in the air. In other words, it's got to be kicked in the air and legally fair caught. It can't be one of these bouncing kicks.
Okay.
Or one of these squib kicks. So it'll be interesting to see.
Extremely interesting, at least from my vantage point. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir. Continue.
Okay. All right. In the event that the team that scores as time expires in a game where they are ahead by 1 or 2 points, they do not have to line up and either try for the try. Now, this is at their option. If they've got, say, a kicker or somebody that needs another point or another kick to break a record, they can elect to do that. But in most cases, and you've probably seen it where a team scores as time expires, the officials spend more time trying to get them back from the locker room to take this try when it really doesn't matter as to what happens. So, and then if they had a situation where it was a 1 or 2 point game where you figure a safety on the try could occur, most of the time they're just taking a knee anyway. So what they've said now is the team that scores that's ahead does not have to have that final play.
Okay. And I could see a coach probably getting sore about that if he had that opportunity. He thought, man, I could have caused a fumble on the snap, but you're going to have to adjust and get your game up. I can deal with that one. I'll deal with that one.
All right. One of our most controversial rules that changes every year is the blocking below the waist. And needless to say, this rule is so complicated, Mike, that I would spend all day trying to explain it. But I'm just going to break it down in a basic.
Okay.
The 5 linemen can block below the waist anywhere up until 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. In other words, they can clip and do all the things they've always done in that zone up to 5 yards. No one, you hear me? No one can block below the waist after 5 yards. In other words, if this lineman is at 7 yards and he's blocking for a running back, he cannot block him below the waist unless he blocks him head on. In other words, he cannot cut him.
Okay. I can
right?
see that. Mm-hmm.
And you're going to find that we're going closer and closer to not blocking below the waist. And there are all kind of situations where, stationary back in the backfield cannot cut a linebacker that's blitzing. He's got to be head up on him. So there are a lot of nuances that are very complicated, and not only complicated, but difficult to officiate.
Yes, sir.
In other words, they write the rules, and sometimes we wonder, how are we supposed to see some of these things? So that is going to be always difficult. And the good thing, coaches are aware of this. They will point this out in films, and as we review our films of our game, we do see these situations, and our challenge is how do we get our officials in position to see some of these blocks that happen so quick and usually can be hidden by just a bunch of bodies. So we'll work hard on that. Our officials will be looking at hundreds and hundreds of film clip on these type of blocks to hopefully make sure that we get them right.
Okay, we're speaking with Harold Mitchell, a head official of Southwestern Athletic Conference football, and I just was reflecting on this last rule that you shared. So in this 5-yard neutral zone is what I'm calling it. So if a running back is picking up a blitzing linebacker and he's 3 yards deep in the backfield, he can't block below the waist to stop this much bigger guy coming at him. He got to block him head on.
Yeah, now he can block him below the waist if he's blocking him head on, but the chances of him being able to physically get in front of this person coming in is going to be very slight. And in those cases in the past, when this linebacker came in, this small running back would normally just cut him on the side.
Right.
That block will now be illegal.
And that's going to cost your team 15 yards.
Yes, it is.
15 yards, and would that be considered a flagrant foul or possible ejection?
No, it's just a personal foul. It's not a flagrant foul.
Okay, because I didn't know how this thing was going to get. So if a guy is coming in and I leap my body in front of him from an angle, that still would be considered chopping him. I have to be squared up, head up with him, shoulder to shoulder.
Right. I've got to be within what we call the 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock area. In other words, I've got to physically get my body in front of him, which is almost impossible to do. So what they're trying to do is avoid that, as they call it, a cut block.
Yes, sir. Now I can see that as a safety rule, but here's another, and I always try to play devil's advocate, not to give you a hard time because I really appreciate your informative information. But I can see quarterback sacks increasing and potentially quarterback injuries arising from this particular rule.
I don't think it'll happen because I think the offenses will adjust. In other words, rather than put that that back out at the tackle or to the left of the tackle or right of the tackle, I'll bring him in a little closer so that if that middle linebacker comes up the middle, I can move a step or two and get in front of him and block it. Or I can have the quarterback roll. And if the quarterback is rolling out, that means that linebacker's got to take another angle, and that angle will lead to a situation where he probably will be face up against the blocker. So that adjustment, I think, will happen. I don't think any of these quarterbacks are going to be standing up in the pocket if the middle linebacker is coming up the middle and we can't block him effectively. So I think there will be adjustments in regards to that. We are protecting the quarterback like we always do. In other words, you're aware of the rule a couple of years ago where if you're, say, a lineman or a defensive lineman trying to get to the quarterback, you cannot hit him below the knee while he's back there in the pocket, even if it's a legal, tackle or block. You've got to basically stay up high. So there are provisions for protecting the quarterback, and as officials, we know that the conferences, the coaches, the presidents of the universities want these quarterbacks protected. And our job is to make sure we do it, and we're going to do it.
Yes, sir. We're speaking with Harold Mitchell, head official of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Man, I've enjoyed you for years. You guys take your job extremely serious, as you should. You be hard on your grading system, man. I've heard you on your job, man. You talking, and a lot of people don't see the backsides of these things, and you get on them, man. And sometimes you get from your press view and go down there and talk to them at halftime in the locker rooms.
I have been known to do that. I'm not proud of that, but if I see things are not going right, and I don't mean the calls one way or another, if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, such as being in position and hustling, I'm not going to wait until Monday to deal with it. If I can, I'm going to deal with it now because there's still time to save the integrity of the game if necessary. Now, I don't go down there all the time. But
I don't know, Harold. I've seen you in action, man, and I've seen you in many different venues, and I know you going down the halftime. Man, this don't make no sense.
Hey, I hope my reputation is I'm tough on my officials, but I also know that my officials, my SWAC officials, are progressing to higher ranks every year. We're proud of that. We've had something like 14 officials that have been promoted to a higher conference, and that's becoming very consistent. So that means we're doing some things right, and we expect officials to do the right thing. So I don't have to tell them they're doing the right thing. We don't expect them to do the wrong thing. So when they do it, we're going to let them know that they've done that.
Yes,
sir.
We're
going to try to correct it.
Yes, sir. Now, your grading system, exactly how does your grading system work? Is it something is it the Mitchell system, or is it a general grading system for all officials across the board?
Well, it's not a Mitchell system. It's a system that actually my technical advisors, my game observers have really formulated this system. And the system is kind of simplistic. For the right call, which is just a normal call, you get nothing. If you miss a call, you can lose 6 points.
Wow.
If it's a tough call and you miss it, you may only lose 2 points. If it's a real tough call and really we can't tell what is right or wrong, you do not lose points. Everybody starts off with 100. And we basically, based on what happens in the game, you can lose a couple of points for a missed call, but you can also gain it back. If you've got a real tough call, a gutsy call that sort of bails out everybody, you can get plus points. So it's a plus and minus. And for the most part, if they get 90 as a grade, we consider that to be an excellent job. And
Okay.
I think the key to our grading is, when if you make just a normal right call, that's nothing. We expect that. At this level, you've got to be able to do that. But you can't be looking at something and not be able to make the call. Or you can't be looking at the wrong thing. So they get graded on their positioning, the calls that they make, the calls that they should make that they don't make, and we grade every foul that's made. And every foul that occurs in our game, we grade it. And the grades are correct call, incorrect call, or marginal call.
Okay.
And there are quite a few marginal calls that really are just tough, and we really can't see real well. We pass on those, but the calls you're supposed to make, you make. The calls that you miss cost you at this level.
Okay, now you brought up a good valid point, marginal calls, because you and I both know you can call holding every single play of a game. So
Yes.
when do you turn the other cheek or whatnot, or you say, oh, man, I'm not going to call that? Because I can recall some games you couldn't even get a momentum of the game because there's so many marginal calls that are being made sometimes.
Yeah, we try to use the philosophy advantage, disadvantage. For example, you have a sweep around the right end, and the left tackle away from the action and the ball hooks his man. Play might go for 1 yard, but it's not a long run. That's the type of holding call that we try to not call. Now, we may go up to the player and say, watch your hand. But that would be a call that we do not consider to be one that would impact the play. So that could be an actual holding by definition, but one we not call. On the other hand, you could have a run up the middle and the offensive lineman just barely twist the player right at the point of attack. Even though it's not what you would call a big foul, it impacted the play, so that's a foul that we do call. Now, what we have to be aware of, the defensive coaches are geniuses in our conference, and they think of all kind of ways to have their players gain advantage, disadvantage. So we have to be just as sharp with them, and we get occasionally, and when you have these games where we're calling a foul all the time, every play, that means that the players kind of have gotten a little away with it. And we probably, I guarantee you, in those cases have warned them, but they just keep doing it. They're grabbing them, they're taking them down, and we have to call that. The obvious stuff. Now, everything involving injuries or safety, we're going to call, no matter where it occurs. But our holding calls, we try to call the ones that have advantage versus disadvantage. It's tough to do, and we open ourselves for criticism with that. But like you say, we don't want to be taking away the momentum of a game because we're calling the foul all the time. But we also have to remember that momentum might be because I'm letting that offensive guard and tackle just tackle their defensive counterpart. So you have to look at it from both sides.
Now, let's revisit that sweep to the right, but there was a left tackle hole and was for 1 yard. So I'm not going to worry about that. What if that 1 yard turned to a 30-yard run?
And this is the case, and you've seen it, Mike. You've seen what you call late flags. Now, everybody in the stands says we're cheating.
Right.
But you've seen a late flag. My experience and veteran officials, my good officials, they're able to see that hold on the other side and say, okay, I got a hold, but I've got nothing yet. Well, let's just say that play that went away goes down 20 yards. They break back across the field, wherein had my person not got held, it would have probably pursued downfield. Then I might have to call that hold back at the line of scrimmage. And as long as the film that we review shows that occurred, we're okay with that late flag. Now, the public and the media may not understand it at that time, but your point is very valid.
Okay.
offensive linemen, defensive linemen, if they can't make the play, they're taught to pursue. And if the place where they would have pursued would have been where this play ended up, and this is what happens on long run, then we've got to say that hold did make a difference on that play.
Well, couldn't we just call it from the beginning and just be done with it?
And then you'd have 50 fouls every game.
Oh man, well look, I appreciate it. I hate it when it falls on my team. That's all. Everybody hates it when it falls on their team. But as always, sir, an excellent job of explaining and breaking down these rules. We appreciate you and we value here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And we look forward to this each year because you are and your staff, you are an integral part of our Saturday experience. And we just support you guys, and they don't want to talk about you when you do your job, and they talk about you when you do your job. So you guys are in a tough situation sometimes.
Well, we work at it, and everyone that's out there in the striped shirt loves what they're doing and is able to take the pressure that comes with, being a football official in major college football.
Okay, Mr. Harold Mitchell, head official of the SWAC. Football season is in the air, ladies and gentlemen. You got to be able to smell it. Brother Mitchell, we want to thank you so much for joining and being a part of our show on today. You do make the difference, sir, and we appreciate it. Now, I customarily give my guests opportunity to share their last thoughts and comments, and so I'm going to allow you that same opportunity, sir, and turn the floor over to you right now.
Well, Mike, I guess the most important thing from an officiating standpoint is we are getting much closer to full replay usage in the SWAC. We have 6 of our 10 teams that will use replay on all of their home games, and in 2019, all of our schools are supposed to get it. It has been a tremendous benefit to not only the schools, but the conference and the officials, in that these tight, controversial plays, we get some second eyes and we get some TV eyes on it, and it's helped us as a conference avoid major controversy. Doesn't mean that we get everything right, but we have not had, as I call them, the train wrecks that sometimes determine, championships. So replay is a part of the future. I think it's very important, and I'm very pleased that the Southwestern Athletic Conference is basically on board with taking us into the future.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. He is Harold Mitchell. I am the radio guy, the Dr. Mike Prince. Once again, I want to remind you that you can follow me on Twitter at Radio Guy. Instagram is Radio Guy 22. The website is obnradio.com. And in the Prairie View community, you can always check us out at 87.9 FM. I must exit stage left, but until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.